All right, this is the video that I recommend everybody start with, or at least come back when you need a little primer. This is all about the points and why we do that. And if you've ever done a round of EFT or tapping and thought, okay, but like, why am I tapping under my eye and not my elbow? I'm going to go into a few of the details here because I find it really fascinating. If you're a rabbit hole fact looker upper like I am, you're going to love this too. Now, points aren't just made up. I mean, nobody sat around going, close enough, just tap whatever. It absolutely 100% goes straight back to traditional Chinese medicine. Now, I have been doing acupuncture for probably the last 20 plus years. I definitely have lots of stories of where traditional medicine failed me and acupuncture and acupressure came in and got me going again. And I mean, TCM is thousands and thousands of years of mapping exactly where the body's energy moves and where it gets stuck and what happens when you press here or poke here. And they've got tons and tons of data. And in fact, a lot of traditional medicine is definitely leaning into acupuncture now. I know I used to work for the College of Physicians and Surgeons here in Alberta, and acupuncture was definitely recognized as a real medicine approach. Okay, so we're going to go through all these points in here. I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. You can always speed me up if you need to, if you just want to kind of see some of the diagrams, but we're going to go through it point by point, all the face, the body, and of course, the fingertips, where each point lives, what meridian it's on, and why tapping it does what it does. Okay, so let's get into it because there's a lot. Okay, so quick primer. I want you just to like skip ahead if you're just here for the point list, but I want to get into like all the details. Now, Chinese medicine says energy or qi or qi. I've heard many people pronounce it in different ways, and absolutely, if there's a different way, post in the comments. I'm going to learn, but it runs through the whole body along these invisible lines called meridians. There's 12 major ones, each tied to an organ system, and each one carrying a not just like this physical job, but an emotional charge too. When I go for acupuncture, I'm always like, "What's that point do? What's that point do?" And she's like, "It's your colon, it's your spleen." And she's down there on my legs. So I want you to also think about how our organs also work with emotions. Okay. So your liver holds your anger, your kidney holds your fear, spleen holds your worry. And your body has basically been keeping this emotional diary the entire time you're alive, whether we're paying attention to it or not. And this is how stress and anxiety can creep up on us because we don't realize that our body is keeping a little diary of all of this. And it has wear and tear on our internal body and our external body as well. Now, acupuncturists access these lines with needles. I mentioned this. We are going to access them with our fingertips. Okay. So we're going to be using these. It's the same map, not as sharp and pointy, and you don't need to make an appointment. You absolutely can do this anywhere you're at. Sometimes I am pulled over in my car. I don't do it while driving. But sometimes I'm in the grocery store. Sometimes I am at home. Sometimes I'm on my way somewhere. The point is that this is something you can do. I even do it at the gym sometimes when I'm on the treadmill. Now, when Gary Craig built EFT in the 90s, he didn't invent any new points out of nowhere. He absolutely went and looked at the TCM map and he took 9 of the most powerful, most reachable meridian endpoints on the body and then built the sequence that you might already know. If you don't know, we're going to go through it. Now, we always start with the karate chop, okay? And this is really important, okay? This is where every round starts. It's that fleshy kind of outer part of your hand, that part that you'd actually like karate chop something. Okay. Now, that meridian is your small intestine, but it also can lead into some parts of your heart. I'll go into that a little bit later, but this is where we do that setup statement. Okay. So it's even though I have this thing, I deeply and completely accept myself, or I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I like to really exuberantly get that in there. It's not random. It's not a random place to start. In Chinese medicine, that small intestine's whole job is really sorting out. Okay, it's sorting. It's deciding what the body keeps and what it releases. Nutrition, waste. Okay. Now, emotionally, that's the same job we need done before a round can work, right? We want to sort out all that self sabotage talk and I don't think I deserve to feel better yet. And if you are like me, I'll be super vulnerable here where I will do punishment because I don't feel like I deserve good stuff. this spot is for you. Okay. So this is the energy so that the rest of the sequence has somewhere to land. And I spend a lot of time here when I do my tapping tables or when I do my personal sessions. And that's because sometimes I got a lot of shit to sort through. Okay. Excuse the pun. It is definitely absolutely intentional. I spend some time here. Sometimes that first phrase that I think I'm going to be tapping on isn't actually my best phrase, and I need to do some work in here. Now, I did do a tapping table once where somebody had said that the excessive tapping here gives her an upset stomach. Well, guess what? That's because your intestine. I mean, I sometimes will recommend having a little extra fiber, if you do feel like there's some discomfort here or you feel some discomfort in your intestine, there's probably a reason for that. Always drink a lot of water when you do these sessions, but also fiber, little chia seeds, little psyllium husk, also very good for you. Okay, so then what we do is we go into the top of the head. Now, the top of the head, um, I think some people will do it at the end, but I like to go right into it, and it's the very crown. And there's a couple of different things. So, generally, when I'm tapping, I'm using these two fingers. Top of the head, you can use all of your fingers, or some people use like the whole flat of their hand just so that they can get all of it, or you have four. I generally do all my fingers and I just sort of tap in a circle. Okay. Now, this is that collection point and it's tied to several meridians and it's the governing vessel. This is where we're starting off that whole round. We're also going to end with it. And it also can tie into things like your crown chakra, but it is an integration point. Now, remember what I said is we went through here and we really worked out what we need to work on and what's waste. When we start tapping in here, we really lock in that phrase. Okay. So everything that you have, just set yourself up with, we're now setting it up. And then we're going to finish that too, because after we go through the whole round, everything we just released actually gets to like just settle here. And then it's not just floating around in your body. So we're going to create a whole circuit. So this sets us up. It won't be a part of the circuit when we come back around. We will do fingers and I'll go through that too. But this is basically we're gonna always start and end it. We're gonna wrap it up. Now, after we do the top of the head, we're going to come to this one point. It's an eyebrow point. I'm gonna move my bangs here a little bit. So we're gonna be right in here. Okay, so this is the spot kind of right here. And you know what? Like, if you poke in here, you can feel it. Okay, so it's that inner ridge of your eyebrow, right where it starts, right on that bone. Now that's your bladder. Okay, now the bladder meridian is one of the longest in the whole body and it holds all of your stored fear, trauma, things that we try not to like actually focus on a lot, but it's really important that we do address it. It's all that stuff that you've really carried so long that you forgot you were carrying it, but guess what? Your body and the little journal it's creating, it's all in there. Now, this is usually where people feel that first, oh, that's a lot wave in that session because we're really activating the bladder, right? We're activating that moment. And it's not a bad sign. I want you to kind of think like I often feel like little tiny sore points and there's not all the points feel sore all that time. I do make note if some spots are more sore than the other, I'll talk with my acupuncturist about it. But just, it's something for you to notice. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the side of the eye. Okay. And it's the bone at that outer corner of your eye. And that is your gallbladder. Now, if you don't have a gallbladder, don't panic. You can still absolutely 100% do this. This is anger and resentment. Okay. This is the stuff you're still mad about 3 years ago and you refuse to discuss. This point is really important, whether you have a gallbladder or not. Okay. Petty grudges, whether they're real or not, are absolutely here. Okay. Then we're going to head over here to the under the eye. And it's like directly on the bone under the pupil. So we've got that kind of, I think it's like a colloccipitaal bone. Now, this is your stomach. Okay. Now, this is the actual point that the EFT's predecessor, Dr. Roger Callahan, he tapped here on a client. I think her name was Mary. She had a very severe phobia and it just dissolved in minutes. I think it was like getting water in her eyes. I also have that phobia. I should actually probably try it on there. But discovery is basically that it's the reason any of this exists. Okay, the stomach meridian really holds your fear and anxiety, that unsettled something's about to go wrong feeling in your gut. Now, I often find that I might be working on a phrase, and by the time I get here, things really start to shift for me. And I'm curious if you find that too. Drop in the comments, let me know, because I always find that I, instead of like kind of that negative phrase that we start off with, it starts to shift here. And then we're going to go under the nose, and that's that spot right between your nose and your upper lip where you have like a little mustache. Now that's a governing vessel. Okay, that meridian. This one's all tied to shame. Not that I did something wrong, but like I am something wrong. Okay, I am the wrong thing. It's right in here, that deeper, heavier version of shame. Okay, the governing vessel really runs that full length of your spine. So think of this point as reaching pretty far down into your system. Okay, and I think the reason why I start to feel this shift here is because my body knows that I'm about to come in here and really change it, right? So I often, when I get to this point, I'm switching to more of a positive reframe of what I do. I might still have some residual, like, well, we can look at some of my other tapping videos. Maybe I'll start to make a point of noticing when I shift in my words. But sometimes right here, I'm like, okay, and it's because I'm really tapping on that shame center for me. Then we're going to go under here with the chin. And this is this little crease between your bottom lip and your chin. Okay, right in here. Now, that is your central or your conception vessel of meridian, and it's confusion. Okay, it's I don't even know what I'm feeling right now. I just know it's a lot, and that feeling lives there. And you can hear that when I do my tapping scripts. I'm definitely like, okay, well, I don't know why I did that. I really don't, or I don't know why I keep doing the same mistake. And that's that spot right there. Then we're going to head into the collarbone. And for the most part of all of these, we just need to tap once. But the collarbone, I really recommend getting in here with both fingers, both sets of fingers. Okay. Now it's about an inch down and an inch out from where your collarbone meets. So, like, if this is mine right in here, we're getting right in here. Okay. Now that is your kidney. Now I only have one and a half kidney. So, I'm not sure which side I'm tapping on, but I tap on both. And the kidney is fear at like a survival level. Okay. The kidney is our, oh God, I got to make this work. Okay. It's not just I'm nervous about what this email is going to give. It's like actually like, oh my God, is everything actually going to be okay? Am I going to survive this? That's in here. Overwhelm, panic, extreme anxiety. It's also right by your thigh, like your thymus, in here, your thyroid, and that's tied to your immune system, right? So when we're really stressed out, when we're really panicking about something, and we're really nervous about it, guess what? We get sick, right? So we want to be tapping in here. It's not your body being like dramatic. It's literally real life in here, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to go under here to our arm. And I always say it's kind of like 4 inches below your armpit, roughly. If you wear a bra or any kind of halter top, it's going to be right in there. And you can kind of feel where it feels a little sore. That's usually, how you got the right spot. That's your spleen. And it's like worry, obsession, guilt, all those thoughts that just sort of go on loop, and you're like, when will I get relief from them? Why won't they leave me alone? This is that point for whatever, you can't stop turning over in your head at 2 a.m. Okay. We're in there. And I find when I get to this point, it's more soothing for me. Okay. It's like I'm tapping in here, and the words that are coming out of my mouth are more the affirmation. That's just for me. It might not work for you. It's definitely something to observe. I've been doing this for a little bit of while. Like, I've been tapping for quite a few years now. And it's just something I've noticed about myself. But I think it's like when I get to that point, I'm really in the soothing, right? I'm all about taking myself out of the loop, out of that harmful repetition of phrases over and over again. And I get right in there. And you only have to do the one side. So collarbone, and then hit it. And, you can do whatever's comfortable. Some people like to do a reach around. You can get right in there. And then we're going to come back to that top of the head. Okay, so it's the very crown. Now, that's that collection point again. What I was saying, it's that governing vessel. We're going to basically tie in everything that we did so that nothing is floating. Now, I mentioned fingers. And if you've only ever seen that part where it's just your body and you're like, what the heck are you talking about? Well, this is an like a cousin, like the older, the version of EFT that kind of goes one step further, and that's called thought field therapy. So this is like a cheat code version of tapping, but sometimes when an issue's really in it, and I definitely do it during Holy Shift, I add this in. You can do this anywhere. You can do it in a car, in a meeting, without necessarily tapping the top of your head and looking like you're doing some sort of weird TikTok dance. You can just use these fingers as well, or you can add it in. So each finger sits on its own meridian, and you tap the side of the nail bed. Okay, so just like, doo, 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 doo. Okay, so your thumb, this is your lung, and it's grief, sadness, loss. If you're carrying something heavy you haven't like really fully let yourself grieve, this is your finger. Okay. I I am coming up on the anniversary of my uncle's passing, my favorite uncle, and it's been really hard for me. And I realized I had a really bad day yesterday, and I was realizing that previous night my thumb went to sleep, and I was like trying to work it, and I was working this thumb, and then the rest of the day I just had incredible, immense grief and longing and memories of my uncle. Yeah, I really worked that thumb. Okay, so I had to do a little bit of tapping, a little bit of resolve in there, a little bit of grieving, working through that. It is definitely was related. Then we get into the index finger, and this is your large intestine meridian. So this is guilt, resentment, old grudges, including the ones you're holding against yourself. Why did I do the thing? Okay, that's in there. Middle finger, this is that what we call the pericardium meridian. So, or circulation. It's anxiety, insecurity, especially anything tangled up with intimacy or trust. And then we have the ring finger, which is technically a triple warmer, and um, some people skip it because the gamut point is right on the back of your hand between the ring and the pinky fingers. It sits on the same meridian and does the job better. So sometimes I'll do both sides of this, but sometimes I do the gamut point, which is again like here. Okay. And that you can also tap in there. So if nobody's ever told you to tap your ring finger, it's not normal. It's not a gap. It's just different methods and what people find. I definitely always say try both, see what works for you. Okay. It can have different experiences for other people. And then we have your pinky finger, which is your heart meridian. And that's that smaller everyday stuff, the annoyance, the minor frustration, the little emotional paper cuts that kind of wound us a little bit. Don't let them go. Don't let them sit there and fester. Go in and tap it out on that finger, and it's a really gentle one. Okay, so basically, I often sometimes will rub this if I'm just like somebody's saying something to me, and I don't want it to hurt. I don't want it to linger. I will go in here and work it while they're you know coming at me. Just a little emotional force field I can put up. So this is really good to have when you're somewhere where you generally can't like just start tapping your face. You can definitely go through that fingertip sequence. So the thumb, the index, the middle, and then of course this, and then the pinky. And then you can also end it out. There's like a little spot in here you can and tap in there. So it's like almost like tapping in the top of your head. Okay. Now tapping isn't woo. I know some people are like, "It's a little too woo for me." It really is a map, and if you've never had an opportunity to go look at a TCM, traditional Chinese medicine map, it's really fascinating to see how these things work. And like I said, I've had all sorts of response, and both from an emotional side and a physical side. I have been very injured, and TCM has definitely helped me get moving again, or help me get through a point of pain where I can just get to the point of healing as opposed to just focusing on the pain. There's been a lot of interesting things how I've used it over the years, whether you believe in it or not, whether it is for you or not. I would still recommend just try tapping. Just see what it is. It's harmless. You're not going to do anything. There's no way you can like screw up anything in your body by tapping these things. But every point corresponds to a real meridian, and it's a real organ system. So all of these also tie into some really cool emotional patterns that Chinese medicine practitioners have been tracking for thousands of years before anyone called it self-care, before anyone called it wellness or being healthy to yourself, good to yourself. So I want you to think also next time you're mid-round and you land on that collarbone point, and suddenly you feel like a wave of, oh, I'm actually scared. Like that's not random, right? That kidney meridian is doing exactly what it's built to do. Now, you don't need to memorize all of this to tap and get something out of it, but it does help. I think it's fine. I find it interesting. Also, if you are looking at creating this into like a regular practice, like I said, keep a journal of it. Keep a journal of of your on a scale of 1 to 10, here's where I'm at the beginning of the session with this phrase, and here's where I'm at the end of a session with that phrase. How many times maybe it took you to get to a round where you were at a point on that scale that you were happy with, whether it was a 3 or a 2 or even like a 0. Keeping track of that is a really great useful knowledge for yourself. You can also include different points of reference, like what's happening in your life, what's the environment like, what's even like the weather like, did you eat that day when you did that tapping session? All those things can contribute to knowing more about yourself and your body. It's just awareness of how we're responding to this, and I think it's really great data that we can start to keep track for ourselves. Um, as well, and I say this in like, just so you know, like anytime I go through any of these scripts, they are just examples. If I start saying something and your mind says, oh, I actually want to say it this way, say it that way. It is not important to follow what I say word for word. They are just ideas, they are just prompts. They're things that I hear other people say when we do the tapping table or when I do sessions with people. And I think it's helpful because we don't always think of that little pivot or that little perspective shift, right? But when we say it once, our brain's like, no, wait a second, it's actually this. And so I always give yourself that permission to go with what your gut is saying, to go with what your heart is saying, what your brain is bringing out for you. The things that we do in here are just suggestions. And I hope this helps. I just wanted to give everybody kind of this point of reference that there's a video that they can come back to just to go through the references. I'm just going to go through one whole session right now just so you can see it. And also for people just to skip through if they just want to kind of see this again. So again, we come into here. This is a typical round. We spend some time here. I sometimes like to warm up this spot. We go in here, then we go into the head, then we go to the outer eye, then we go to here, then we go to here, then we go here, and then to our chin, then to our collarbone, then to under that arm, and then back here. And that's a typical round. You don't have to go through here. You know, it's in order. It's not that hard to figure out. And then you can definitely come in here. But I hope you practice this. I hope you love it. If you have any comments on this, if you have any additional information you want to add into this, please do share in the comments. I absolutely want to get better at it myself. I'm always working on my practice. Even if I've been doing this for 9 years, I absolutely want to keep learning. And I'm going to say that even though this is based on the TCM, different people experiencing different things, doing something just slightly different, we probably will build on this. And 10 years from now, 15 years, 20 years from now, it could be even a very different practice. So share in your comments, come to a tapping table. I can't wait to hear about your experiences with EFT tapping.